I appreciate that. I mean, and I'm sorry, whether it's
Michael, we fished your wish.
Susan's here?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so hard. Oh, we
Yeah. Okay.
You mentioned it in my sermon.
Oh, I am? Okay.
It's for properly correcting me
Oh.
on the line.
They did. It's
It's a blessing to first to memorize that entire movie.
I'm sure Karen knows the actual.
I don't know. Right. I don't know.
But in my head, I remember something else.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that movie memorized. So.
That makes it fun, I guess.
All right, welcome, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for being here. It was a beautiful, crisp, but very sad day for many people, for a variety of reasons. But most dealing with death in different ways this week. So we'll begin on page 1 with the additional soul that we're given on Shabbat and is so needed this weekend. Yedi nefesh Rachman, Yedi nefesh Rachman, Mishochav Decha, El Ritzonecha, Mishochav Decha, Yala la 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 la, El Ritzonecha. Go to page 6. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim. V'tageh haaretz. Yiramayam. Yiramayam. Let's go to the next page, page 8, Or Zarua, light is sown for the righteous. Or Zarua, Latzati, Uyishrelet Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzati, Uyishrelet Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzati, Uyishrelet Simcha. Or Zarua, Latzati, Page 13, Mizmor LeDavid. Mizmor LeDavid, Adon Adonai Be'im, Adon Adonai Kavod Va'os, Ay, 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 Adon Adonai, Kevod Shemo Yisrachavu LaDonai Ve'adra Kodesh, Kol Adonai, Amayim El HaKavod Hirim, Adonai, Amayim Rabim, Kol Adonai, Bakoach, Ay, 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 Kol Adonai, Ve'adar, Kol Adonai, Shoel Harazim, Vayshaver Adonai, El Hazeh Hamadan, Vayarkinem Kemo Negev, Lebanon, Besirion, Kemo Vedrehi, Ay, 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 Kol Adonai, Kotzem Lavon Esh, Adonai, Yachil Nipar, Yachil Adonai, Mibakadesh, Kol Adonai, Yechol El Hayadot, Vayechesod, Yeharot, Uvekadot, Kulo Omer Kavod, Ay, 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 Adonai, La'amu Yadai, Yishev Adonai, Melech Elolam, Adonai, Le'amo Yiten Adonai, Yevarech et Amo V'Shalom. Hey, ay, 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 Page 15, Lecha Dodi. First two and last two stanzas. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi Lekhat Kala, Neshama Lecha Bela, Lecha Dodi Lekhat Kala, Neshama Lecha Bela. Shikra Zachor, Zachor, Bidi Borechad, Ishneanu, Elam Yuchad, Adonai Echad, L'Shemo Echad, L'Shemo Tiferet V'Tiklah, Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi Lekhat Kala, Neshama Lecha Bela, Lecha Dodi Lekhat Kala, Neshama Lecha Bela, Mikrat Shabbat Lechuta Lecha, Ki Mekor HaBracha, Merosh Mikadem Nesucha, Sof Ma'aseh B'man Shabbat Tfilah. Lecha Lecha Dodi, Lecha Lekhat Kala, B'nei B'nei Shabbat Nekadela, Lecha Lecha Dodi, Lecha Lekhat Kala, B'nei B'nei Shabbat Nekadela. Bottom of 17, Yaminu Smol, Tifrosi, Ve'en Alan Paritzi, Al Yanish Ben Parzi, V'nishmecha V'nagila, La 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 Lecha Dodi, Lecha Lekhat Kala, B'nei B'nei Shabbat Nekadela, Lecha Lecha Dodi, Lecha Lekhat Kala, B'nei B'nei Shabbat Nekadela. Rise and face the entrance. O'i v'shalom, Teret Bala, Gam v'simcha, u'v'tzoa, Tov emuneh, Yasitula, Bo'hi kala, Bo'hi kala. Lecha Zer Mitzvah Makom et Hemechem Betok Shar B'nai Tzion B'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you with all the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. You may be seated, page 19. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, לזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך עליון. Continue silently, 19 and 20. Sadika Tar Yifrach Keheres Balanon Yizkeh Sheshulim Bebeit Adon Hatrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Oyenu B'Seva Deshenim Berananim Yiyu Leha Ki Ashar Adonai Turi Lavesh Adonai Zizazar Aftikon Tevel Ba'altimo Amon Kisachar Me'azlam Ata Nasunerot Adonai Nasunerot Kolam Nisunerot Oyam Mikol Yomayim Mayim Rabim Madirim Mishperei Adir Bamarom Adonai Elotecha Ne'emenu Me'od Lebeitecha Kodesh Adonai Le'orech Yomim. Please rise briefly for the Baruch Hu, page 22. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. May be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher b'Dvaro Ma'arif Harachim. Yom v'layla, golol mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Ma'avir u'mevein layla, ma'avdil ben yom u'vein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'arif harachim. Ahavat olam. Torah
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levecha, v'chol nafshecha,
v'chol me'odecha,
ve'hayu advarim ha'ele, asher Anochi metzalecha, hayom levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta b'ham,
v'shitacha
v'beitecha, u'v'lechecha derech, u'v'shokvecha u'v'kumecha, u'shartam le'ol al yadecha, ve'hayu tavot beinecha, u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'v'yisharecha. Pages 27 through 29. תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, הייתם קדושים לכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. So ברצון כדוריהם, משה בני ישראל חנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם. מי כמוך אלוהים אדוני, מי כמוך נדור בקודש, תורתי לו אוסף אלוהינו, תורתי לו אוסף אלוהינו, שמענו יעקב, לא מחזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. 33. השכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, וחכמתנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, וחכמתנו מלכנו לחיים. Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha, Baruch Atah Adonai, Aparei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, V'Kol Amo Yisrael, V'Al Yerushalayim. Please rise for the Shamru. Shamru, B'nei Yisrael, Yikra Vikra Shemei Rabba Yamani Brachirute Memlich Machute Yechon Yor Mechon Ulayim Lechobek Yisrael Bagala Bagala Ubizman Karim Meru Amen Yehesh Me'Rama Bevorach Ve'olam Ve'omaya Yibarach Vishtabach Vibarach Ram Vinaseh Vitadar Vitaleh Vitalal Shmei Kutsha Lamin Koberchata Veshirata
Tushmechata V'nehemata Damiran Ve'alma
Meru.
Amen.
Private Amidah, pages 37 through 38. shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yeshvitenu aleinu. Matbea Tefillah, all the way through Kaddish Shalem.
Can we do Kaddish Shalem also?
Yes.
Vayechulu hashamayim ve'haaretz v'chol tzavam vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa vayishpot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa Vayivarech Elohim et Yom HaShvi'i Vayikadesh oto Ki vo Shabbat mikol melachto Asher bara Elohim la'asot Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Konei Shamayim v'Haaretz, Magen Avod B'Davaro, Mechaye Meitim, Ve'Ma'amaru, Ha'el HaGadol, She'en Kamahu, Ha'Mehiach Le'amo, Yom Shabbat Kosho, Kivam Ratzah Le'aniach Lahem, Kivam Ratzah Le'aniach Lahem, Lefanav Navod Be'yira v'Fachad, V'nadeh Lishmo B'chol Yom Tamid, Me'ein Abraham. Adon Hashalom Mekadesh HaShabbat Uvarech Shali Umeniach B'Dusha Le'ameinu Shnei Onei Zeker L'maseh Bareish Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Retzevinu Chateinu Kadeshenu B'mitzvotecha V'tein Chalkeinu B'toratecha Sabeinu Mituvecha V'samcheinu B'shuatecha V'taher libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet v'taher libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet V'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu b'yahava uveratzon Shabbat Kodecha V'yanuchuva Yisrael Mekadshei Shemecha Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat ויתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד דברי חירותי, וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב יאמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, יתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן. תתקבל צלעות הון ובעד ההון דכל ישראל, קדם עוון וישמעיה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום רב מן שמעיה וחיים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, והוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. Thank you.
Right, so for those who are following, we're now up to, well, we're in the middle of Rabbi Harold Schulweis, which we're going to spend several weeks. So for those who are guests, on Friday night I don't do a sermon, but I'm doing sort of the history of congregation, but not in a linear fashion, using mostly original documents and letters that I found. But when it comes to the rabbis, I'm using anything I can find. So we're up to Rabbi Harold Schulweis, who was here for 18 years and was the iconic rabbi of this congregation. I talked a little bit about just sort of his beginnings and how he was hired, and I read a letter. I read the bulletin, his own welcome message to the congregation, and the welcome message to him from the president. A little more background today. So, first of all, Schulweis, for his bar mitzvah, gave his bar mitzvah speech 3 times in English and Hebrew and Yiddish. And the Hebrew was for his grandfather, who was Israeli, and the Yiddish was for his father, who mostly just spoke Yiddish. He was a disciple of Mordecai Kaplan, the Reconstructionist rabbi. That was his guy at JTS. And the synagogue was really Schulweis's laboratory. He viewed it, at least at the beginning, really as his lab to do all kinds of things. So here's how he ended up here. And I've gotten some of this from a book about him called In Pursuit of Godliness and a Living Judaism, The Life and Theology of Rabbi Harold Schulweis, written by his successor in Encino, Rabbi Ed Feinstein. Anyway, so what we learned was he came out here because the placement director wanted to get him as far away from New York as possible. Because he was just too radical.
Oh, well, this is...
And yeah, exactly, in many ways. Although it wasn't radical enough for him in the end, but that's for successive weeks. I've got a lot to say about Schulweis. As soon as he got here, he fired the long-serving cantor, and he sought a prayer leader who would engage the congregation in more participatory collective prayer. And there's letters back and forth between him and Kaplan describing what was going on. I do not know what the membership number was when he arrived here in 1953. There's nothing in the minutes that indicates what the membership number was. In later years, there was. In fact, the peak of Temple Beth Abraham's membership was in 1968 at 622. That was the largest we ever had. And I know in 1961, there were 540. When he got here in 1953, I mean, I can only guess, probably 100 fewer than that, but I just really have no way of knowing. Although I do know there were 300 kids in the religious school in 1954. But that's the only thing I can get as far as stats. So he walks in, he tries to reorganize the synagogue, and he finds himself in the epicenter of the American Cultural Revolution, Haight-Ashbury, Black Panthers, Vietnam War, Berkeley, just total social upheaval. And I'll cover those in succeeding weeks, but I want to talk for a moment about his theology. So his theology evolved too, right? At first he was like, people aren't religious because it's a conflict with science, and it doesn't, they can't get past what they know from science doesn't match what they're reading in the Torah. But eventually he said, no, that's not the case. Jews are rejecting traditional faith because it has little to say at moments of collective and personal tragedy. And he was especially concerned with the Holocaust. So he delved into theodicy, why bad things happen to good people. And he eventually came to the conclusion that no, that all theodicies eventually fail. And he was doing this while he was getting a doctorate at the Pacific School of Religion, which is part of GTU at Berkeley. So while he was a rabbi here, he was studying there. And so he came up with his own what's called predicate theology, a theistic humanism celebrating human moral responsibility. That's really all about human morals. He's not the only one to. It's an offshoot of several others, especially Richard Rubinstein, who I actually talked about on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. But Richard Rubinstein was sort of less godly than Harold Schulweis, but it's kind of like that. Maybe this is too much information, but whatever. I mean, of course, I find it very interesting. But after he came up with this predicate theology, but then he had his own moment, which a rabbi would call an Elisha ben Abuya moment. And also given in light of what's happened in Piedmont this week with the, I mean, these things happen all the time. They just don't necessarily happen in your community, where 3 college students were killed in a car accident. I mean, really tragic, and we just came from the vigil there before services. So Schulweis had that moment. First, I have to explain who Elisha ben Abuya is, though. Elisha ben Abuya was a rabbi in the Talmud who became a heretic. Why did he become a heretic? The story goes, there was, I don't know if it was his son or a friend, but he was fulfilling a mitzvah to remove the mother bird when you take the eggs. And he was climbing up a tree, falls off the tree, and dies. So he dies while fulfilling a commandment. And so he lost all his faith in God. How could this happen just at that moment? Well, Schulweis had a similar moment, but not here. It was later. And I'm going to get back to here in future weeks. But right now, just with his theology, when he went to Encino, it was a high holidays, and there was a family where there was a teenage son, a college-age son, whatever it was. He wanted to break the fast with his friends in Malibu, so he wanted to leave before Ne'ilah started, maybe to get ahead of the traffic, whatever, maybe while it was still light. And his family insisted that he stay for Ne'ilah and the final shofar blowing. He stayed for the final shofar blowing. He gets hit by a drunk driver on his way to Malibu, and he gets killed instantly. And I just want to read you a little bit of his writings about this. I walked into the bedroom where Kenny's father was sitting with his head buried in his hands. He looked up at me, his face grew pale, his fist clenched, and he greeted me with a torrent of curses, cursing me, cursing God, cursing the synagogue, cursing himself. Why in the world had he insisted that Kenny wait until the end of services? The room was filled with stunned people as Kenny's father continued his curses. Then he told me to leave. Get him out of my sight, he said. On my way out, his wife grabbed hold of me. Rabbi, she said, don't take it personally. But I did take it personally. Kenny's father felt he was cursed by God, and I, his rabbi, represented that God of malediction. And eventually it just humbles him. There's no answer that he comes up with. It's just humbling. All you can really do is be there and be a presence. And we know there's that tragedy this week. We buried 2 older men this week whose families are here, and that's the way it's supposed to work. But in at least one of the families, right? Janet, you also had to bury your son in addition to when he was much younger. So there's no response. Okay, so it's a good time to remind ourselves via Schulweis, as sad as it is, as difficult as these things are to say, just all we can really do there is be here as a presence for one another. So that's tonight. It was actually more of a sermon than it usually is, but that's a little bit of Schulweis. And next week we will cover his view of community. Jody.
I'm just going to give a plug for the next column in the Presidents of TVA series. There's an interesting Schulweis story there.
Excellent.
Coming soon.
Okay.
Excellent. It's from Aaron or no?
It's from Joe Budman.
Okay, good. All right, oh yeah, I know which one it is. So anyway, we will continue now with the Kiddush, page 55. Please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kosho kavod ratzon hinkilanu, zikron l'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom tefillah l'mikrayei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'harta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodeshecha, ve'amadu ratzon, Inchotanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim, to right. If you are near your children, at least a couple of you are, you can put your hands on their heads or anyone else you may feel comfortable blessing. And we say, Yisimcha Elohim ka'Ephraim v'chi Menashe, Yisimech Elohim ka'Sara Rivka Rachel Leah, Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yer Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God lift the divine face toward you and grant you peace. Page 57, Aleinu, Aleinu l'shamayach l'adon ha'kol, l'teinu l'yotzer bereshit, shalom asani goyei ha'ratzo, Velo samanu k'mishon ha'adama, Shelo samchokeinu kahem, Ve'yor aleinu v'yavo hamonam, V'anachnu korim, U'mishtachvim u'modim, Lifnei melech molchei hamavim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Sharuna Keshamayim ve'yosei ha'aretz, U'moshav yikaron b'shamayim imam, U'shchina tuzo, ve'gadhei meromim, U'eloheinu e'yod, Elokeinu efes gvulato, Kafkatu b'torato, Ve'atayom ve'hasherota, Elevavecha, Ki Adonai hu Elohim, B'shamayim imam, Ve'aretz mitachat einod. Katuv b'Torah Techal Nayiloch Le'olam Va'ed V'ne'emar V'hayam Adonai V'melech HaKol HaAretz V'yom Hahu Yeh Adonai Echad U'Shemo May be seated as we lovingly recall the memory of our departed relatives and friends whose yahrzeits we observe during the coming week, thinking especially today of Samuel Ash, Ruth Bresso Young, Sam Clark, Benjamin Davis, Esther DeCovid, Esther Dubrow, Charlene Eberhardt, Sarah Epstein, Mary Feltman, Irene Elizabeth Flick, Adeline Francis Freeman, Max Gershenson, Ann Bosniak Goldberg, Marvin Goldberg, Sonia Greenberg, Gil Hirsch, Stanley Hirschman, Paul Hertz, Pearl Caston Jonas, Lola Kahane, Samuel Kaplan, Rebecca Kearns, Kurt Krasinski, Joseph Landowitz, Beatrice Kaufman-Levy, Ellen Moskowitz, Patricia Nightingale, Joseph Oak, Edith Olchak, Geetman Olchak, Freda Rubenstein, Ben Shane, Bernardina Puelas Soto, Helmut Stein, Michael Stevens, Janice Thompson, Jeffrey Owen Wade, Augusta Soretsky Weinberger, Marietta Wolf, Robert Zuckerberg. And we are in the Shloshim for Lynn Handelman Siegel. We are in the Shiva for Roxana Angelita Silva Mendoza, and our thoughts are with you, Yadira, and family. Also for Alfie Gross, the father of Sandy Gross, and our thoughts are with you. I learned a lot about this 102-year-old, 101-year-old man, and 101 and a half. Big Oakland fixture. It was the best attended funeral of someone over 100, or even maybe someone over 90 that I've ever been at. I mean, he just had very popular guy. And if I learned one thing from him, it's that you should eat your corned beef with extra fat. But in any case, also George King, husband of Janet King. George was a very, very generous man in general, very generous with Temple Beth Abraham. And he was one of the first people I met with when we started our Centennial Project, and he and Janet immediately just gave us a lot of money to get that project started. And they're incredible people, and our thoughts are very much with you, Janet. And also George, as I think I mentioned last week as well, just old school detective 60s television show vibes. It's kind of that's how he was. They don't make them like that anymore. Also want to mention the three young people who were killed in the car accident in Piedmont: Krista Tsukahara, Jack Nelson, and Soren Dixon. I also want to mention Rabbi Tzvi Kogan, who was kidnapped in the UAE and killed, assassinated, murdered. So lots of heaviness in the air tonight. Our thoughts are with all of you, and we ask all those who are in mourning or observing the Yorkshire to rise for the mourner's Kaddish at this time. Page 61. Yit Gadal, Yit Gadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'almad Yivrach Yerutei, V'amlich Malchutei, V'chayechon V'yomechon, V'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, V'gala V'izman Kari V'imru Amen, V'shemei Rabbah V'barach, V'olam L'almei Almaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitbahar, V'imam V'yinaseh, V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal, Shemei Dekutcha Baruchu, Le'ela Amin Kol Berchata V'shirata Tushkachata V'nechemata Damiran V'alma V'imru Amen. Yehi Shalom Rabban Yishmael V'chayim Amen. Oseh Shalom Yirma Uyaseh Shalom Amen. Zikronam Livracha. May the memory of the people you've come to say Kaddish for the blessing of you always. Say
Amen.
Amen. Okay, some announcements. Well, there's challah in the back. All right, so tomorrow services are at 9:30, the usual time, and this Wednesday we're going to have a presentation. It's really a one-person play called "The First Jew in Canada: A Trans Tale." So it's I don't know if it's the first Jew or the first trans Jew or both, but it's a one-person play, and it's Wednesday at 7:30 in the sanctuary. And then all our normal things are coming. If you want to support our kids, our students, the Glebie makeshift group will be performing twice in December at the Montclair Stroll at 6:45 on Thursday, December 12th, and then at the Piedmont Donuts and Dreidels event on Sunday, December 15th at 10. So lots of good stuff happening. A lot of guests here tonight. So, all right, let's see. So, Sandy and Paula, who'd you bring with you from Atlanta?
Brought Paula's sister, Betsy, her daughter, Shoshana, and her husband, Ari.
Welcome.
Thanks for being here. All right, behind you, can you tell me your name? Are you new? All right, excellent. Welcome. Great to have you here. Let's see. Well, I want to welcome two former students. You know, we're like real life grown-ups now. Okay, so we have a guest, Nikki Friedman and Daniel Pascal. And Daniel, who'd you bring with you?
My partner, Catherine.
So Catherine, great to have you here. They both are grad students at MIT. And Nikki works at the Wall Street Journal, moved recently to Washington, D.C. All right. Yadira, you want to tell us who you brought with you too? Or? Welcome, great to see you. All right, now, although it's been very heavy and serious, the next death I'm going to describe will not be serious. I mean, it's serious that they died, but we do tributes to musicians who died in the previous week as our closing song. It's not a famous musician, but what we're going to be doing is a song about the woman who inspired this song, in part, died this week. Her name is Alice Brock. Oh. And she is the inspiration for Alice's Restaurant. She did own a restaurant, but not at the time of the song. She may have worked in a restaurant at the time of the song. It's debatable. But Arlo Guthrie was staying at her house for Thanksgiving weekend. So it's really a Thanksgiving tale. And this is how it goes. I'm not going to do all 19 minutes. I'll do the beginning, the end, and I'll summarize the middle. And it became a Vietnam protest song, of course, but it's a long story. That's why it takes 90 minutes. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Now, it all started 2 Thanksgivings ago. It was on 2 years ago on Thanksgiving, when my friend and I went up to visit Alice at the restaurant. But Alice doesn't live in the restaurant. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant, in the bell tower, with her husband Ray and Fasha the dog. And living in a bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. And having all that room, well, seeing how they took out all the pews, they decided they didn't have to take out their garbage for a long time. When we got up there, we found all the garbage in there, and we decided it'd be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the city dump. But what happens is they found out that the dump is closed, they don't know what to do with the garbage, so they take the garbage and they throw it down the bottom of a cliff, because there's already some garbage there, and they figure the two piles of garbage would be more difficult to clean up than one, so they bring it all together, and the story goes on, and they get arrested for that because they're illegally dumping garbage. So they get arrested, and they now have arrest records. So when it comes time for the draft, he has an arrest record, so he can't serve. And they take him to a psychologist, and he can't serve, decide if he's fit, if he's no longer a criminal. They have to figure out, because if he's a criminal, he's not allowed to go to Vietnam and kill people. And that's the idea. And the only reason I'm singing you this song now is because you may know somebody in a similar situation. Or you may be in a similar situation, and if you're in a situation like that, there's only one thing you can do, and that's walk into the shrink wherever you are. Just walk in and say, "Shrink, you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant," and walk out. If just one person does it, they may think he's really sick and they won't take it. And if two people do it in harmony, they may think they're both idiots. It's actually not what they say in the song. And they won't take either. And 3 people do it. 3 people. Can you imagine 3 people walking in, singing a bar of Alice's Restaurant, and walking out? They may think it's an organization. And can you imagine 50 people a day? I said 50 people a day walking in and singing a bar of Alice's Restaurant and walking out? And friends, they may think it's a movement. And that's what it is. The Alice's Restaurant anti-massacre movement. And all you gotta do to join in is sing it the next time it comes around on the guitar. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. Yeah, you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Happy post-Thanksgiving.
Mark, what about the 27 8 by 10 color glossaries?